All right, here we go for another post-draft ramble. This was game day, and as participation for game day, let's go over what we got for promos. So again, I'm new to the game, so these are cool to me. So we picked up Touch of the Spirit Realm for even just showing up. It's a 2 and a white enchantment. The Touch of the Spirit Realm enters the battlefield. Exile up to one target artifact or creature until Touch of the Spirit Realm leaves the battlefield. You can channel it for 1 and white. Discard Touch of the Spirit Realm. Exile target artifact or creature. Return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. Alright, well, I don't really know how I would play this, but it's just cool. It's a promo, so I appreciate getting cool promo stuff. And because I went and there was only 9 people who showed up, and I wasn't dead last, I got the top 8 promo as well. And this one was a nice little foil. Workshop War Chief. 3 and a green creature, Rhino Warrior with Trample. When it enters, you get 3 life. When it dies, you create a 4/4 green Rhino Warrior creature token, and you can blitz this for 4 and 2 green. So green. It's a 5/3 itself. So I cool card. I appreciate these promos. These are awesome. So that's part of the journey of getting into the Magic community. So just want to go over those first. Now let's go over what we played with. So what we played with was we were trying to do domain with like a flying bias, spell bias. And we ended up going 1 and 2. So I didn't do that great, honestly. We lost to black, white, green, and both times we lost. So I don't know. We'll go over it. What worked, what didn't. Let's start with our alpha creatures, our top tier creatures for this deck. So we had first up Zar Ojanen, Scion of Efrava. So it's a 5-drop, 3 green, white. It's Cat Warrior. This had domain on it. And whenever it becomes tapped, you put 1/1 counters on each creature you control with toughness less than the number of basic land types among the lands you control. I was running, they're off screen right now, but I had about 7 dual lands coming into this deck. So I was able to hit domain in like turn 4 consistently. So this was great for popping 1/1 counters, but my opponents, they had plentiful removal. And this was a quick target for the removal. So I never got to really use this beyond like once I got to put 1/1 counters on, but they were quick to get this guy off the field, and that was expensive for, a 5-drop for them to just take it off right away. I didn't love that. Tatyova we've talked about previously, but again, she was also a quick target. It's better that she's a 3-drop, and I usually try to hold her until I'm about to do my 7th land drop so that it's not so forecasted. But again, she was just so quickly targeted. My last draft deck, I had 2 of them. I wish that happened again, but you take what you can get. Next, we had Balmor Battlemage Captain. So I like the 2-drop. It's a flyer. It gets +1/+0, and actually all creatures get +1/+0 and gain trample. I really like Balmor because the trample is fantastic against go wides, especially in the domain deck where we're trying to run things like this, that we're pumping up everything that we have, and then we're attacking in with kind of middle range creatures. They're able to chip damage through. I just felt like the removal, I was just constantly facing removal, and this unfortunately was another victim of that. Up next is Griffin Protector. So Griffin Protector, that's 3 and a white, and that was a flyer. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, the Griffin Protector gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This I had good feelings about this card from my last time I drafted Red White Go Wide. And in this deck, I could feel how it's slower, because as a standalone 2/3, it doesn't do much. And when it's not paired with Keldon's Strike Team Kicked or Captain's Call, it really is just kind of there and kind of like feels like a weak flyer that's not really doing anything, especially if they have that 4/4 green reach creature that kind of prevents you from attacking in out of fear of losing the creature. So I was underwhelmed by that, and now I've learned my lesson with Griffin Protector. Tura Kennerud Sky Knight. So that's 2 white, blue. And it's a flyer. Whenever you cast an instant or a sorcery spell, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token. Again, the 5-drops, they were quickly targeted. So I got to use this once. you know, making that 1/1 creature token. I really was excited for the spell synergy with instants and sorceries and how many of my cards benefited from that on top of being domain. But, you know, this didn't really... I didn't really see this getting much play, and it was quickly shot down when I had it out. And these are all flyers. I really wanted to be like a flyer domain sort of deck, but it just didn't take off. This is 2 Nael Avizoa Aeronaut. So 2 green and blue. It was an elf scout. And with domain, and whenever it dealt combat damage, you get a look at the top X of your library, where X is the number of basic land types. And then you get to put 1 at the top of the library and the rest at the bottom in a random order. But then you get to draw if you ended up having a full 5 domain. So I never got to do this. Again, it was just like, my opponents were not liking these flyers with abilities. They were just asking for attention, honestly. That was about it for my top tier creatures. For the support creatures, you know, Floriferous Vinewall, you know, it's a 2-drop that can really help you fix mana if you're not having the lands in hand. And I did run into that with this deck. I would come into hands that I would have all the colors for creatures that I don't have in my hand, and I have creatures and colors for lands that I don't have in my hand. So this I would be happy to see in order to get it out and help me get more lands that I was needing. Vine Shaper Prodigy, you know, I was trying this card out for the first time. So it's 1 in a green, you can kick it for 1 in a blue, and then if you kick it, you get to look at the top 3 of your library and put 1 of them in your hand. And so I like that. That was helpful. It felt expensive, and then it didn't really get to do much. I mean, definitely got to use it as a blocker, because I felt like I was going up against some of that mid-range meatiness of the big creatures, and they're attacking in with 3, and I can't have them doing that turn after turn without an answer. So I think part of my problem that I learned was I would let them chip in with like 3/2s too often, and I would just let it go by because I was thinking... I don't know what I was thinking. I should have sacrificed this earlier so that they didn't have the benefit of so many turns of 3/2s attacking in. But we learned. Next up, G2 Amplifier. So again, I just like this because it would have synergy with the instants and sorceries, getting a +2/+0. And then if it came in late game, I'd have the ability to basically bounce the creature back to their hand. Didn't really bounce with any... I did not bounce with this card, and it did not get much play other than just going out on the field as a standard 1/2, and maybe it got the bump once or twice, but yeah, a little underwhelming as a support creature. Sunbathing Rootwalla. This card, I know it's supposedly a sleeper and people really like this card, but you know, I just feel like the pump for 3 and green, you know, I mean, I did use it. I gotta say. I like that I had that option. It didn't really come in handy too much. I guess it didn't save me. I feel worse about this card than I should. That's how I'll put it. This card is great. It really is. I mean, especially if you're doing the full domain thing and then you get 5 and this becomes a 7/7 plus, you know, if you have Balmor out, it's an 8/8 plus, you know, all the other cards that boost each other. So I like that. Academy Wall, again, I'm a sucker for falling in love with cards that I've done better with in other decks, and this is one of them. So I did better with this card in the blue-red spells deck because I just loved it as a card drawing machine. And this definitely, it gave me cards, and I could filter, although make sure you read the text because I definitely forgot that this is a may draw a card, and if you have no cards in hand, this does not help you when you're top decking. All you will do is draw and discard. So I did make that mistake once, but I really like this to slow them down, honestly. I am happy I included this because when I got this out, I felt good that they were slowed down as far as I can block their highest attacker, and I didn't run into too many combat tricks that they were trying to attack Academy Wall with. They didn't really feel as threatened by Academy Wall, so they were letting it stay out and slowing down their damage roll. Fiashino Branch Rider. So this I took because of my love of haste and aggro, and I mean, when I had it on turn 1, it was fine. I could chip in a couple of extra damage, but I never used the kicker ability, and I never really used the pump ability, which, you know, for being a 3/1 and I had to spend 3 mana on, Yeah, I didn't really love this card. It got to be a blocker, a real cheap blocker if I was in a pinch, but that's just buying me time, and I'm not really looking to buy time. I'm looking for answers. All right, so that was it for secondary creatures. Now we're moving on to the spells. So for spells, out here on the side, we did have Destroy Evil. The destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater, destroy target enchantment. So I like this. This is great. This took out some of the big creatures we were up against, so I'm glad I included this. Lightning Strike, another one. So honestly, if it wasn't Destroy Evil, it'd be Lightning Strike for the cheaper creatures, and this was nice to just respond to. I need to do a better job of holding onto this until there are more annoying threats. I think I have to get away from the aggro mindset of just wanting to clear the board so I can just attack in. So I might have used this too early when I had it, but I know that this is one of the loved cards in this set, so we grabbed this. Essence Scatter, that was nice when I was able to use that. I think I only got to use it, a handful of times, but I had good synergy with this and Tolarian Geyser or anything that can really bounce it back to their hand, and they think, okay, I like to look for the high cost mana creatures, put that back in their hand. When they bring it back out, they spent the mana, and then I get to spend this to make it a waste for them. And they're usually surprised by that. I didn't get to do that this time around. I just didn't. I only was running 1 Essence Scatter versus 3 Tolarian Geysers because I only found 1 Essence Scatter. But I just love how that card plays. Gaia's Might, this was an absolute must, especially with the 5/5. I mean, using, I could tap 1 green and then my creature would get +1/+1 for each basic land type. So it's just +5/+5 on top of what they are. This was great, and I was really hoping to use this as a finisher. I mean, when you're hitting, if you have 2 of these Gaia Mites in hand, and I did, and you have, an open avenue of attack, whether it's, flyers or just they attacked all in last turn, this can really, you're doing 12, 13 damage in 1 turn unexpectedly from your 3/2 attacking end, so I really love Gaia's Might and these domain decks. Tolarian Geyser, this is an absolute staple for me whenever I can get it into the deck if I'm running blue or white. I played this multiple times with Kicker, and it was absolutely helpful for keeping me in the game, slowing down them, getting me cards. I love Tolarian Geyser, and I was running 3 of them, if you can't already see. Phyrexian Espionage, this card I'm feeling a little annoyed about. Let's juxtapose it to Tolarian Geyser. You're paying the same amount, and you get 2 cards this time. Straight up 2 cards. If you want, you can play 1 in a black, and you can get the opponent to discard a card. And, Tolarian Geyser, you get to bounce a creature, and you get to draw a card, and then you could spend 1, white mana, and you get to gain 3 life. I think for Phyrexian Espionage, I'll be picking a whole lot less, just because it feels like it's, I don't know, I just don't... I like what Tolarian Geyser is doing for me a lot more than Phyrexian Espionage, I think. But maybe I'm just a little annoyed that I went 1 and 2. Anyway, on to the last card that we had outside of lands. We had Jodah's Codex. First time I saw this card coming in through the set, and I actually had the option to get a second one, but I really only used this card once, and it was nice when I did get to use it. It was getting me some card draw, but it was at a point in the game where it was feeling hard to kind of catch back up. This card was excellent for getting me cards. Really, it's only going to be helpful in the mid to late game when, you have the mana to spare and you have the domain where now every card you're tapping it to draw from. There's really no artifact removal, so this is pretty safe in that regard. I haven't seen any. At least I can't think of any offhand, so I as far as an investment of 5 mana, this is okay. As far as lands go, we had the blue-black tap land. We had the blue-red tap land. We had 2 white-black tap lands, just to get us into those colors quick to help access domain. And then we had the green-white tapped land. And then on top of that, we actually had 2 pain lands. So what's with these pain lands? I wasn't seeing any for the first few weeks of this set, and now I was able to draft 2 this set. And I got one of the Fool Arts, which I love the Fool Arts. Trying to complete the collection here. And then another Carplusian Forest pain land. So, alright. That was how I played. Again, I only went 1 and 2 with this. I was a little disappointed. I was a little optimistic. I spread myself too far in too many directions. You got to pick one win condition and stick with it. And I just get too excited. when I see different things that I've loved in the past, and I kind of have to be okay trying new things. Let's go over what I didn't include, though. So let's take a moment for that.